The street lamp flickers like a dying heartbeat, casting long shadows on the pavement. A young woman freezes, her backpack slipping from her shoulder as a man in a crisp police uniform steps closer. His voice is calm, almost friendly, but his eyes are sharp, scanning her like a predator sizing up prey. He tells her he needs help with a report, his hand hovering near the car door. Her breath hitches as she notices the car's license plates are gone, replaced by a blank black patch of metal. She takes a step back, her mind racing. This isn't a cop, it's a trick. The man leans in, his smile too practiced, and she knows she's trapped in a game she can't win. Her pulse thunders in her ears as she studies the car, sleek, dark and wrong. The man's badge is fake, the name on it smudged like it was hastily scribbled. She grips the strap of her backpack, her fingers digging into the fabric. The air feels heavier, like the world has paused to watch her decide. When he reaches for her wrist, she jerks away, her voice sharp. "I'm not going with you." He doesn't flinch, just smiles again, and she knows she's seconds from being dragged into the night. Her mind flashes to her brother's face, her mother's voice. She can't let this happen. With a sudden burst of strength, she bolts, her feet slapping the pavement as she runs. The courtroom is silent except for the hum of the air conditioner, the kind that makes your skin crawl. Bundy stands with his hands clasped behind his back, his face calm, almost bored. The judge's gavel rests on the bench, gleaming in the fluorescent light. Bundy's eyes lock onto the judge's, steady and unshaken, as he says the words that will change his life. "I plead guilty." The clerk's pen scratches against paper, and the room feels like it's holding its breath. A reporter in the back scribbles notes, but Bundy doesn't look at them. He knows this is just the beginning, the first step down a road that leads to prison, to escape, to blood. The cell is cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. Bundy crouches near the bathroom window, his fingers tracing the edge of the pane. The moonlight slants through the bars, casting jagged shadows on the floor. He hears the guard's footsteps fading down the hall, the clank of keys echoing in the silence. His breath fogs the glass as he presses his palm against it, testing the weight. With a flick of his wrist, the window shatters, the sound like a gunshot in the dead quiet. He slips through the jagged hole, the night air biting his skin, and vanishes into the dark, leaving only the shards of glass behind. The sheriff's radio crackles with static, then a voice cuts through the noise. "All units subject at large." Last seen near the Aspen exit, his hands grip the wheel as he swerves onto the highway, headlights slicing through the dark. Across the state, a deputy in Colorado checks his map, his radio repeating the alert. Search parties fan out, on foot, in cars, on helicopters, tracking a man who knows the mountains like the back of his hand. The air grows thick with tension as the hunt spreads, the cold biting through jackets, the only clue a shattered window and a stolen car. Every mile, every shadow, every flicker of movement is a possibility. Rain drums against the prison ceiling, a relentless rhythm that drowns out all thought. Bundy crouches in his cell, his fingers tracing the edges of the light fixture above. The metal is cold, the wires frayed, but he knows exactly how to use it. His eyes flick to the ceiling, calculating the gap, the weight of the fixture, the time it'll take to climb. The rain outside grows louder, a storm building as if the sky itself is warning him. He pulls his shirt over his head, his hands steady, and begins to work, the sound of metal scraping against concrete the only thing that matters. Freedom is just a few inches above his head, waiting. The guard's flashlight beam slices through the cell's darkness, catching the frayed edges of a torn sheet hanging like a tattered flag. His boots echo on the concrete floor as he steps closer, the cold seeping through his uniform. A faint smear of dust glints on the ceiling where the light fixture once hung, the only clue left behind. His radio crackles with a call for backup, but the cell is empty now, just a hollow shell of metal and stone. The air smells of mildew and something sharper, like the tang of fear. He crouches, running his gloved hand over the dust, then freezes. The escape wasn't just a break, it was a calculated move, every detail planned. The storm outside still rages, but inside the silence screams. His boots hit the pavement of Tallahassee with a soft thud, the city's hum of traffic and chatter wrapping around him like a second skin. He walks fast, his eyes darting over the Florida State University campus, brick buildings, leafy trees, students laughing near the quad. He stops at the edge of a sidewalk, pretending to study a map, but his fingers twitch at his sides. The air smells like sunscreen and pine, nothing like the bitter cold of Colorado. He's here for a reason, though he can't name it yet. A breeze tugs at his jacket collar, and he tucks it tighter, his reflection in a store window showing a face too calm, too smooth. The campus is quiet now, but the night will be different. The sorority house door creaks open with a groan, the hinges screaming like a warning. He steps inside, the hallway dimly lit by a single flickering bulb. His shadow stretches long across the floor, swallowing the faint outline of a couch and a door leading to the bedrooms. The air is thick with perfume and the smell of late-night study sessions. He moves quietly, his shoes barely making a sound on the hardwood. A hallway mirror catches his reflection, a man in a dark shirt, his face unreadable. He pauses, listening. Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard creaks. His hand slips into his pocket, fingers brushing the cold edge of a knife. The house is asleep, but he knows it won't stay that way. A scream tears through the night, sharp and raw, like a knife thrown into silence. Two women scramble in a bedroom, their cries muffled by the cold air seeping through the window. One of them grabs a lamp, swinging it wildly, but it clatters to the floor. The other backs into a corner, her breath coming in short gasps. He moves fast, his hands closing around her wrist, his grip like iron. The lamp's light flickers as he drags her toward the door, her screams fading into the dark. Outside the wind howls, but inside the room is still, except for the sound of a body hitting the floor and the soft, wet thud of something heavy falling. The cold air smells like blood now, thick and metallic. The forensic examiner leans in, his magnifying glass hovering over the photo of the bite mark. The image is grainy, but the shape is unmistakable, a jagged, uneven arc of teeth. His pencil taps the page, then the dental records spread out on the table. The lines match, the spacing the same. He exhales, his eyes narrowing. This isn't just a coincidence. The room is quiet except for the hum of the fluorescent light, the weight of the evidence pressing down like a hammer. He flips to another page, comparing the hair fibers and shoe prints. Every detail lines up. The man in the photo isn't just a suspect, he's the killer. The examiner's hand trembles as he slides the file into a folder marked Ted Bundy. The backpack sits in the mud, its straps twisted and soaked, the straps still clasped in the muck like a frozen hand. Rain has long since stopped, but the ground is slick, the air thick with the smell of wet earth and something else, something old. A school bus idles nearby, its lights casting a pale glow over the empty street. The backpack zipper is pulled halfway, revealing a crumpled shirt and a notebook, its pages fluttering in the breeze. No one is here now, just the quiet of the morning and the weight of what happened. The mud clings to the straps, a silent witness to the girl's last steps. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls, but the sound feels wrong, too loud for the silence. The pig pen reeks of manure and rot, the air thick with the stench of decay that clings to the back of the throat. Investigators wade through the muck, their boots sinking into the sludge with every step, the mud sucking at their legs like a living thing. A body lies half buried in the dirt, the shirt still clinging to its bones, the backpack sprawled nearby with straps twisted and soaked. The ground is slick, the rain long gone but the mud still fresh, and the smell of something old, something wrong hovers over the scene. A crow caws from a nearby tree, its sound sharp and sudden, and for a moment the only thing that moves is the wind tugging at the edges of the backpack zipper. The officer's flashlight beam cuts through the gloom, its light catching the glint of something stiff and synthetic on the child's shirt. His stomach knots as he crouches, the beam trembling in his grip, and he pulls the fiber free with a flick of his fingers. It's a thread from a car seat, the kind Bundy's car had, same color, same texture, the same stubborn refusal to let go. He holds it up to the light, the strands catching the beam like a secret, and for a second the silence feels too loud. The mud under his boots is cold, the air heavy with the weight of what this means. He tucks the fiber into a plastic bag, his hands steady but his mind already racing. The radio in the officer's car crackles to life, its static hissing like a warning. "All units, vehicle match to suspect Ted Bundy," the voice says, sharp and urgent. The officer's grip tightens on the wheel as the car swerves, its dented hood groaning under the strain. The windshield is cracked, the paint peeling, and the engine coughs like it's trying to escape. A flicker of movement in the rearview mirror, a flash of a badge, a shout from a bystander, and the car lurches to a stop. The officer's hand hovers over the radio, his breath held as the driver's door swings open, revealing a man with bloodshot eyes and a smirk that doesn't quite reach his face. The jailhouse clerk flicks through the file, her fingers smudging the ink on the pages as she reads. Her eyes widen when she hits the line about the man who's already escaped twice, the words blurring into something that doesn't make sense. A stack of warrants sits on the desk beside her, each one a red flag tied to a name that shouldn't be on the loose. She taps the file against the desk, her mind racing through the details, Utah, Colorado, Florida, and the way the system keeps failing to hold him. Her pen slips in her hand, and for a moment the silence in the room feels like a warning. The conference room table is a mess, photos of Bundy pinned to the walls, maps of escape routes spread across the surface, and case files stacked like bricks. A Utah detective leans over a map, tracing a route from Aspen to Tallahassee with a finger, while a Florida agent points out the pig pen on a satellite image. The air smells like coffee and stress, the hum of a copier filling the silence between them. A Colorado investigator taps a photo of Bundy's dentition onto a whiteboard, his voice low as he explains how the bite mark matches. They're not just connecting dots now, they're building a wall brick by brick around a man who's already slipped through the cracks twice. The sketch artist's pencil skates over the paper, his hand moving fast but sure as he captures Dr. Suveren's face, stern jaw, sharp eyes, the faint crease between his eyebrows as he speaks. The courtroom is quiet, the only sound the rustle of paper and the doctor's steady voice. The bite mark on the victim's buttock, he says, his words precise, matches Bundy's dentition exactly. The artist's pencil pauses, then continues, capturing the weight of the testimony, the way the doctor's voice doesn't waver, even as the room holds its breath. The sketch shows the doctor's hands steady on the podium, and the jury's faces frozen in the moment the evidence clicks into place. The file slides across the table, its edges frayed from being passed hand to hand. A juror's knuckles whiten as they grip the paper, their eyes scanning the inked words, asterisk escaped from jail twice asterisk kidnapped a girl in Utah asterisk, 2 women dead in Florida. The room hums with quiet, the kind that makes your throat feel tight. Someone flips to a photo of Bundy's face, the same one that stared back from the police lineup. Another juror leans in, tracing the jagged line of his scar with a finger. The air smells like old paper and nervous sweat. A whisper cuts through the silence, he's been here before. The file is passed again, heavier now, like it holds the weight of every crime he never stopped committing. The gavel slams down, a sharp crack that silences the murmurs in the gallery. A judge's robe billows as he rises, his voice booming over the crowd. All those who say Ted Bundy asterisk stand. The courtroom holds its breath. A reporter's pen scratches against notepad paper, the sound louder than the whispers. Bundy sits at the defense table, his hands folded, eyes fixed on the ceiling. The air smells like old wood and fear. A juror's jaw tightens as they watch him, their mind already racing through the evidence. The clock on the wall ticks, each second stretching like a rope. The trial isn't just about a man in a courtroom, it's about the bodies buried in pig pens and the faces of girls who never came home. The screen flickers then stills, showing a close-up of a bite mark, dark, ragged, unmistakable. A forensic expert's voice booms from a speaker. This mark matches Bundy's teeth exactly. The jury leans in, their faces lit by the cold blue light. A juror's lips part, their mind racing to connect the dots. The slide changes to a diagram of Bundy's dentition, each tooth labeled like a weapon. The expert's voice continues, calm but unyielding. No other man's bite pattern fits this wound. The room feels colder now, the weight of the evidence pressing down. Someone's hand trembles as they take notes. The bite mark isn't just a scar, it's a fingerprint, a confession carved into flesh. A juror lifts a strand of hair from a plastic evidence bag, its texture wiry and coarse. They hold it up to the light, comparing it to a sample in the box. Their fingers twitch, the hair slipping through their grasp like a ghost. A detective's voice murmurs from a recording, "We found this on the victim's clothing." The juror's stomach twists. The hair isn't just a clue, it's a thread linking Bundy to the crime scene, to the girl who died in a pig pen. They set the hair down gently, their mind replaying the testimony. The shoe prints, the fibers, the bite mark, they all point to one man. The room feels smaller now, the walls closing in with every piece of evidence. Bundy's voice rasps like sandpaper, his words slow and deliberate. "I didn't mean to hurt them," he says, eyes flicking to the ceiling as if watching unseen. A detective's pen hovers over a notepad, his jaw clenched. The room is silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. Bundy's hands rest on the table, knuckles pale, but his voice doesn't waver. "I just wanted to see what it was like," he adds, his tone almost casual. The detective's pen drops, the sound sharp in the quiet. The confession isn't just words, it's a window into a mind that never stopped calculating. The detective's eyes narrow. Bundy's smile doesn't reach his eyes. The judge's pen hovers above the death warrant, its tip trembling. The clerk's voice reads the verdict, guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. The room holds its breath. A juror's hand clenches into a fist, their knuckles white. The judge's eyes are fixed on the paper, his face unreadable. The death penalty recommendation hangs in the air, heavier than the gavel that struck earlier. A reporter's camera flashes, capturing the moment. The warrant is signed, the ink bleeding into the page. The sentence isn't just for the victims, it's for every girl Bundy took, every life he shattered. The pen drops, the sound final. The courtroom clock ticks louder than the seconds it measures. The judge's gavel drops with a sound that cracks the silence like a whip. His hand stays suspended for a heartbeat, then slams down again. The death sentences are etched into the record now, the ink of the verdict seeping into the pages of the courtbook. A juror's throat tightens, their eyes fixed on the judge's back as he signs the document. The air smells of old wood and tension, the kind that sticks to your skin. The reporter's camera flashes again, catching the judge's shadow on the wall. Outside the sun dips low, but inside the light feels like it's been drained. The sentences aren't just words, they're the weight of every scream Bundy ever silenced. January 1980 feels colder than the month deserves. A courthouse clerk flips open a trial calendar, its pages stiff with the weight of past cases. The date, January 7, stares back bold and unflinching. The clerk's finger traces the line where Kimberly Leach's name is written, the ink smudged from a dozen hands. The room smells of stale coffee and old paper, the kind that holds secrets. A detective's voice hums through a speaker, recounting how Bundy's shoes left prints in the mud. The calendar doesn't care about the man who killed a girl, it just holds the date, cold and unchanging. The trial's start date is etched in, but the end. That's still a question no one wants to answer. A detective's notebook lies open on a desk, its pages frayed from use. The words Kimberly Leach, fiber match confirmed, are scrawled in block letters, the ink smudged where the detective's thumb pressed too hard. The room is quiet except for the hum of a fluorescent light, its flicker casting shadows on the walls. A magnifying glass sits beside the page, its lens cracked from years of staring at evidence. The fiber's threads are still in the file, stiff and unyielding like the girl's life. The detective's pen hovers, then drops, the sound sharp in the silence. This isn't just a case file, it's a story of how a single thread could tie a killer to a victim, no matter how long it took to find. A juror's face goes white as the testimony plays out. The words Bundy's movements after the Chi Omega attack are etched into their memory, each step he took like a knife twist. The courtroom is silent, the air thick with the weight of what they're hearing. A witness describes how Bundy walked through the woods, his shoes leaving prints in the mud. The jurors' hands tremble, their knuckles pressing into their thighs. The testimony isn't just about a crime, it's about the cold, calculated way Bundy moved, like he knew exactly where to go. The jurors' eyes flick to the defendant's chair, empty but waiting. The truth is there, but it's not enough to stop what's coming. The gavel strikes again, its sound echoing off the courtroom walls like a funeral bell. The third death sentence is recommended, the words etched into the record with the same finality as the first. The judge's pen hovers over the document, his face unreadable. The jury's recommendation hangs in the air, heavier than the gavel that struck it. A reporter's camera flashes, capturing the moment the judge signs the warrant. The ink bleeds into the page, a permanent mark. The sentences aren't just for the victims, they're for every girl Bundy took, every life he shattered. The pen drops, the sound final, like the end of a story no one wants to hear. A Florida prison guard's flashlight sweeps a cell, its beam catching the faint outline of a man sleeping on death row. The light glints off the bars, casting long shadows across the concrete. The air is thick with the smell of damp stone and old memories. Bundy's cell is small, the walls stained with years of silence. The guard's flashlight flicks over the bed, the blanket pulled tight. Outside the wind howls, but inside the only sound is the hum of the fluorescent light. The guard pauses, the beam lingering on Bundy's face. He doesn't stir. The sentence is already written, but the man who wrote it is still here, waiting for the end. A legal document's pages flutter in a stiff breeze, their edges curling like old skin. A clerk's fingers press a stamp into the paper, the ink bleeding slightly around the word denied. The room smells of ink and stale coffee, the air thick with the weight of finality. Stacks of appeals line the desk, each one a hope crushed under the same verdict. The stamp's red mark glows faintly under the fluorescent light, a scar on the paper. The clerk sighs, sliding the document into a folder. Outside, the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the floor. The denial is absolute, the appeals exhausted. Bundy's fate is sealed, the sentence etched in ink and silence. A tape recorder hums in the corner of a dimly lit room, its red light blinking like a heartbeat. Bundy's voice cuts through the silence, low and steady, recounting crimes as if telling a bedtime story. FBI agent Ressler sits across from him, pen poised over a notepad, his face a mask of concentration. The room is cold, the walls bare, the only sound the rasp of Bundy's words and the occasional click of the recorder. Bundy's eyes never leave the agent, his voice calm but precise, painting scenes of violence with clinical detail. Ressler's hand trembles slightly as he writes, the notepad filling with names, places, and times. The air feels heavy, charged with the weight of secrets finally spoken. A pen scratches across a notepad, the sound sharp in the quiet room. Bundy's voice drones on, describing a murder with the cold detachment of a stranger. The detective's hand moves fast, scribbling notes as the words spill out, names, locations, the way the victim's body was positioned. The notepad's pages are crammed with details, each line a piece of a puzzle the detective is racing to complete. Bundy's voice never wavers, his words precise, methodical. The detective's jaw tightens, the pen pausing as he reads a name he recognizes. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in as the weight of Bundy's confessions settles over them. Every word is a confession, every note a step closer to closure. This video is a dramatized recreation based on publicly reported information.